Hi everybody, this is Brian David Marshall coming to you from the World Championships in Chiba, Japan. I'm here with freshly minted Hall of Famer Brian Kibler. We're deep into day one. You're 5-0 with this deck. Tell us what it's called.
This is my favorite deck name of all time, actually. It is Caw Go.
And this is putting the Caw in the Caw Go?
So it's a blue-white control deck with the only creature is actually Squadron Hawk. The Squadron Hawk is just an incredibly powerful card that lets the deck have an aggressive position against opposing control decks. You can fight Luminarch Ascension, attack Jaces, as well as just being a great blocker and just a fine win condition.
So I mean, in a lot of ways, it's a very traditional blue-white control deck. Day of Judgment. Mm-hmm. Day of Judgment seems like, everyone's talking about Valakut coming into this format, a deck that's killing you with a land. It seems kind of odd that a deck with Day of Judgment is doing so well.
Day of Judgment is a very interesting card against Valakut. We actually have our fourth Day of Judgment in the sideboard, and we bring it in against Valakut because we have so many ways to deal with Valakut itself, the card. We have 4 Tectonic Edge and 4 Spreading Seas after sideboard that really we're only worried about dying to their creatures. They can even play as a Primeval Titan, get some Valakuts, and we can kill it the next turn, kill their Valakuts, and still win. I actually bounced the Primeval Titan with Jace in my last match and won that one.
You also can kill Inferno Titans, which have sort of moved into the Valakut mix.
Well, Avenger of Zendikar is a big deal too. I mean, you just have so many answers, and even the decks that have Overgrown Battlement, killing multiple Overgrown Battlements is great because you shut down so much of their mana. So
this is essentially your creature control package right here. Although I guess this guy also factors in somewhat.
Gideon does a lot of work. He's our other real way that we win. The main way that we win usually is Gideon. Gideon's actually fantastic, even against Valakut, where it seems like it would be pretty poor, because it's a threat that you can have on board, day away their Avenger and still just kill them. A Gideon Jura, along with a Celestial Colonnade, is a 2-turn clock. It's 10 damage a turn. So you can close out the game very fast compared to a lot of other control decks. Right.
So control decks, obviously, we have some counter spells.
One thing that's actually really important here, the hard counter, Stoke, Rebuttal, and Deprive, they're actually incredibly crucial against Valakut because they can ramp so much with their mana. You see, we actually only have 2 Mana Leaks. Mana Leak is a card that most decks start with 4 of. It's actually Brad Nelson was the one who really innovated and worked in this deck. He got it from Akira Asahara, who will also be playing in the Magic Online Championship. And he put a lot of work into it, and one thing that he realized was, particularly with Squadron Hawk on your deck, Mana Leak gets a lot worse. You don't want to hold up 2 mana. You never really do. You want to be playing proactive cards like Squadron Hawk, which also makes Spell Pierce a lot better. Because people won't cast things like Harrow into 2 open mana, they certainly cast it into 1.
So let's talk a little bit more about some of the other Planeswalkers in the deck. All the other Planeswalkers appear to be Jace.
They haven't even named Jace. Jace is, he's awesome. Not only is it card advantage machine, the most important card against Romeros, again, it's a great card against Valakut decks. Valakut decks are incredibly threat light. They have so many cards that make mana, fetch lands, put lands to play, that if you can stick a Jace and protect it, kill their Valakut so they can't kill it with mountains, you can just bottom all their threats and end up just winning the game that way.
Right. We got a nice little one-of here. You always have the one-ofs, don't you?
I have one of my favorite one-ofs. It's still waiting in the sideboard, but it's actually very much a 75 card deck. It's not really a deck and a sideboard. It has a lot of strange cards that are small numbers in the main deck that have more of in the sideboard. We have 1 Spreading Seas main deck because we want more ways to deal with Valakut as well as Manlands. It's just a great card. It's also interestingly very good against vampires. Vampires, if you're on the play and you Spreading Seas them, it's actually just Stone Rain draw a card because all their cards cost black. I talked to Sam Black after you guys played in round 2 or 3, and he said he just had a sideboard full of Strip Mines and Swords to Plowshares. Basically, I mean the deck. It sideboards very well. Brad put a lot of work into the sideboard and making sure all the numbers were right, as well as getting just the right sorts of cards that you want to have against each opponent. It's actually very funny if you look at the deck when you're sideboarding against different decks. You basically are either mono white with Jace or a mono blue with Gideon. You take out pretty much all your counters against the creature decks, and you have just tons of creature removal, where it's vice versa against the other decks.
So, another win condition you have in here is the Celestial Colonnades.
Yeah, Celestial Colonnades.
So you have really three ways to win.
Well, Jace is actually a huge way to win.
Right,
I actually have won probably about half my games with Jace and half my games with Damage in this tournament so far.
Okay. How big has Tectonic Edge been for you? This seems like...
Tectonic Edge is absolutely huge. Not only can you really pressure your opponent's mana in a lot of cases, just as a land destruction spell, someone stumbles on land, you kill their land, they're in trouble. It's also crucial for dealing with Valakut, crucial for dealing with Manlands. Being able to take out opposing Creeping Tar Pits. I even killed a Colony Garden with a Tectonic Edge because I was on the Spreading Seas All Your Green Sources plan against the Valakut deck, and it worked out.
So, and then, I mean, one of the things you talked about, like a mono blue deck with Gideon or a mono white deck with Jace, you have so many dual lands in this format.
Yeah, there is so much good mana fixing right now. It's not like it was before where, you had just mana fixing, you could play any colors or spells you want. You have Cryptic Command, Putrid Leech in the same deck, things like that. Now, the 2-color decks have incredibly solid mana bases that actually come online very fast. The Scars dual lands, they're probably among the best cards in that set. They're so good, both at helping beatdown decks have a fast start and get their mana together, as well as control decks being able to keep up. Being able to keep up Spell Pierce on turn 1, being able to preordain turn 1. All these are very important things.
Let's talk a little bit about your sideboard. You called it a 75-card deck. Tectonic Edge in the sideboard seems like, why wouldn't you want to have 4 of these main deck?
In some matchups, against Valakut, for instance, we want Tectonic Edge for the value of it. Against other control decks, we actually just want another land. We didn't want to have too many colorless sources in our main deck. We have lots of double color spells of both colors. So it was important that our mana base was stable in terms of colors, but we wanted access to the 4th edge, so we put it in the sideboard.
Okay. So the 4th Wrath, or Day of Judgment, as the kids like to call it these days. Why a 4th one in the board?
I mean, creature decks against Valakut. I mean, a lot of the things are. It's not like you don't want certain cards in some matchups. It's just that you want them instead of other cards. You don't want your Condemns against a deck that when they attack they put lands into play, but you do want ways to remove creatures. So Day of Judgment's perfect.
Right. You got the 6th Jace.
Yeah. Again, just you actually, interestingly enough, Jace actually comes in against a lot of creature decks because you want to have, because after sideboarding your deck is just all removal, you just want card flow. That when you're trading 1-for-1 with just efficient, cheap removal spells, getting a Jace online when they can't attack it is just super important.
Right. So we have 1 Deprive, 2 Deprives after sideboarding.
Again, another hard counter. We were debating between Deprive and Negate. Deprive is so much better against Valakut because it can stop things like Avenger of Zendikar or Primeval Titan that we were willing to sacrifice a little bit of edge other.
Big card this weekend. People seem to have almost forgotten about this card.
It's very interesting. Almost all of our blue decks eventually got to 4 Spreading Seas, somewhere between deck and sideboard. It is both a great card against Valakut, so you don't just lose if Primeval Titan enters play, as well as, as I said before, great against Manlands, great against Vampires, just all around a great card.
Right. The 3rd and 4th Condemn in the sideboard.
It's interesting. We debated between Condemn and Journey to Nowhere, and eventually just went with Condemn because the deck uses its mana so heavily. You very often will just have, you'll play a Jace, have 1 open. You'll play a Squadron Hawk, have 1 open. So things that cost 1 are actually super important. You see, same reason between Spell Pierce and Mana Leak. Condemn is just the best, cheap removal you have.
It lets you get the most spells out of a turn.
Yeah, absolutely.
Tell us about Celestial Purge.
Celestial Purge is really important against the Vampire decks. The Vampire decks have Dark Tutelage, which is just an absolute nightmare for control decks to deal with. This deck is able to just remove it. Or, in the case of them having dudes and not Dark Tutelage, you can use it to kill their creatures.
Sure. You can kill a Grave Titan.
We actually were debating whether the 3rd slot should be a Devout Lightcaster, because I don't like having Celestial Purge against blue-black, because it only deals with Grave Titan, but Devout Lightcaster against them deals with Grave Titan, blocks their tokens, and it's actually really hard for them to kill. So that's one thing that was up in the air until the last minute.
Oh, only 2 Flash Freeze?
I mean, we have the Deprive because we want it elsewhere too, and Flash Freezes, again, they're very important as hard counters against Valakut, but they don't really have that much application elsewhere.
Okay. So you weren't able to play with the same Elspeth you played with in Austin, but you still managed to get 1 Elspeth into this deck.
I did. It was actually kind of funny because this was one of my major contributions to the deck. Actually, is the 1 Elspeth. But it wasn't just I just want to have 1 Elspeth in my deck. Elspeth is actually just an incredibly powerful card in the right scenarios. Against Vampires, for instance, you just play Elspeth, make 3 1/1s. They're in trouble. Like 1/1s are really good against their deck. And with the amount of cheap removal you have, you can very easily stop them from beating you down, play Elspeth, take control of the game. My match against Sam Black this weekend, I was down to 2 life. I played an Elspeth, made guys. Next turn, just turned my Gideon into a creature. Colonnade just ended the game at 12. So it stops you from losing to things like Lightning Bolt, where those decks wouldn't really be able to kill you if you have Elspeth.
Right, you're at 2, and it's just a matter of time before they draw a bolt and kill you.
Exactly. It gets you out of range of their reach, which is huge.
So you're 5-0 to start this event.
I am.
You were inducted into the Hall of Fame this weekend. No Hall of Famer has made the top 8 on the weekend of their induction.
Yet.
Well, there you have it. For Brian Kibler, this is Brian David Marshall.